So in The Economist magazine, Donald Trump's former trade chief makes the case for more tariffs. And that person joins us now, my friend Robert Lighthizer, former U.S. trade rep and author of No Trade is Free, Changing Course, Taking on China and Helping America's Workers. Bob Lighthizer, welcome back. So I'm going to read a couple things here. One is my favorite line in your article, which I read carefully and underlined very carefully. It says, tariffs are a tool that should be used in conjunction with a pro-growth tax policy, a reduction in unnecessary regulation, and the use of subsidies to develop key sectors like semiconductors. So I like that. And I want to read something that President Trump just said recently. I think taxes could be cut. I think other things could happen to more than adjust that, but I'm a big believer in tariffs. Beyond the economics gives you power in dealing with other countries. So, Bob Lighthizer, we could have tax cuts to offset the tariffs. Would that make sense if you have a 10% import tariff or something? What do you make of it?
So let me take a step back. First of all, the one thing I would add, I talked about tariffs are one tool, a tool of capitalism. We need a sensible pro-growth taxes. We need less regulation. We need subsidies in some cases. We need an energy policy that helps people instead of one that hurts people. But I like to go back to basics on these things. President Trump ran for president among maybe the most serious reason was he wanted to help working people, and working people had been treated very badly in this country. If you look at what's happened to our communities across America, working men and women have really not had a pay raise, with the exception of a bump during the Trump years, for 25 or 30 years. Yeah. So something has to be done to help those people. And at the same time, the country, the rich are getting richer and the middle class is disappearing. For the first time in our history, the top 1% has more wealth than the 60% in the middle. And there's a lot of reasons for this, but one big reason is trade policy. So the president proposed that we start a reindustrialization program, and that a good part of that should be to have tariffs across the board. Now, I say that this is necessary because the current program has failed. Let's look at the data quickly. We've run up $17 trillion in trade deficits that in the last 24 years, which means that we basically shifted our wealth overseas, including to communist China, to that huge amount. We haven't seen wage increases. We've lost jobs. We've lost our edge in manufacturing. We now have a very large trade deficit in high-tech manufacturing. So the direction things are going in are bad. We have seen people with a high school education now live 9 years less than a person with a college education. And that's the result, to some extent, of a bad trade policy and the fact that they don't have good jobs to support their communities and their families. One last thing, for the first time in our history since 2000, a young person growing up cannot expect to live longer or be wealthier than their parents. That's the first time in American history, just since this policy has been into effect.
Your point, and I think it's an important point. It's a good point. When you look at trade policy, you have to look at it from the standpoint of how it's impacting the middle class, as you say, also people that make things, as you put it in your piece, manufacturing and related items. I think that's a fair point. I think pure free traders have overlooked that. Having said that, I still think that the Trump policy of reciprocity, the idea of reciprocity, if you could have a world where, look, if China's going to raise tariffs, then we're going to have to be tough and raise them too. The same for Europe. I agree with that. I do. But on the other hand, if you make trade deals with both sides lower tariffs, that would probably be a good thing. And the only other thing I wanted to add, with Mr. Trump's idea of a 10%, what he calls ring around the collar, which is a campaign idea. It's not totally formulated. But it sounds to me like he would offset any impacts here domestically with a tax cut. It might be a middle class tax cut, for example. Might be some kind of border adjustment tax cut or tax credit, the way other countries have it. So we would be, protecting our areas that need protecting, but tax cuts could offset it, and the net would be a net plus on economic growth. I mean, is there any problem with that concept?
Well, I would say, first of all, these tariffs will have little or no impact on inflation. So there really isn't a lot to pay back. Let's start with that. We had tariffs. We didn't have inflation. Countries that have the most intervention in their economy in the whole world, countries like China, have deflation. They don't have inflation. So these things are not going to be inflationary. So there isn't a lot to pay back. But you know what the real payback is? The real payback is your mom and your dad going to work in a factory, making a good wage and giving hope to their children and making their kids proud of them. That's the payback. That's the jobs. That's giving a pay raise to American workers. So there's no way this is going to be inflationary. But I mean, you know, even some of the people who hate tariffs say that the effect of our tariffs was less than 0.25%.
Yeah,
so they're really not inflationary. I think we have to get that notion out of our head. I know there's economic models that say they are, but in practice, they really haven't been. And what the president wants to do, I think, with this money is generate the kind of industry that will create millions of high-paying jobs. And if we do that, we're going to restore our communities. We're going to restore the greatness of America. And I think this is an important part. The one other thing is that he talks about with tariffs, remember, is he wants much higher tariffs on China because he realizes the kind of geopolitical threat that they are to our country. So I would say there's a moral, there's an economic, and there's a geopolitical reason for this.
All right. We'll leave it there. Your phone's ringing. I got to take a commercial break.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
Don't apologize. I hear you loud and clear, and your piece in The Economist was very good. And I like the balanced approach, you know. Let's open these fossil fuel spigots. Let's cut taxes. Let's deregulate. Let's keep the dollar. And we can have our tariffs, too. It's a weapon. I agree with you. All right, we'll leave it there. Robert Lighthizer.